Landrieu of Louisiana. Peter.
Well, that's right, Cheryl. She's also the chairman of the Senate Small Business Committee. Senator, welcome to Fox Business. Thanks for joining us. How is this bill going to help small business?
Well, we are very excited about the components of the bill. There are three main sections. One is a $12 billion tax cut that will go into effect immediately when the president signs this bill, which we hope will be in a few days. And one of the interesting components of the tax cut, Peter, is that the self-employed, which represent about 20 million Americans, have never been able to take the same tax cut benefit that larger corporations get for health care. So that's very important. And then secondly, if you invest, and many big companies, particularly on Wall Street, have money to invest today, record profits. If they invest in small business in America in the next year, they get zero capital gains. If they hold that investment for 5 years, zero capital gains. So the one part is tax cuts. The second part is a new, very interesting, never really done before, strategic lending program with community banks, not the big banks. You have to be less than $10 billion to even apply, and you have to be healthy. We trust community banks. We think they're in every neighborhood, every rural community. We think they know their customers and who to lend to, not the federal government. So we wanted to send money to the community banks, let them get money out there to people. And then thirdly, strengthens the small business programs, like eliminating fees to borrowers.
Small business administration program.
I'm sorry, small business administration program cuts the fees and increases the guarantee from 75% to 90%. And this is something that lots of people, Republicans, Democrats, independents, business people know will get those loans out the door. And I think that's what we need.
And that's been popular. In fact, the program ran out of money, which is why you needed to do it again. But on the big the lending fund to community banks, it's $30 billion of capital from the Treasury. Some critics are calling that TARP 2.
They are. I'm afraid they haven't read the bill, and I'm afraid they're thinking more about slogans than about reality, because the fact of the matter is big banks can't even apply for this money, only community banks. Number two, if you're a bank in trouble or if you're a weak bank, don't apply, because you can only have the strong banks. And so number three, we believe, and I trust, and many Democrats trust, the community bankers out there that actually know their customers. You know, DC Cupcakes is a great example, new reality show, line out the door. They could not get a loan. Now this is a business with a good product, line out the door, couldn't get a loan. With this bill, companies like that can start getting loans and putting people back to work.
Let's shift over to the big debate about whether or not to extend President Bush's tax cuts that expire at the end of the year. The president wants to extend them only for the middle class, but Republicans and some Democrats in the Senate and in the House want to extend them for everyone, in part because they say it will help small business owners who report their income on their personal returns at higher rates. Where do you stand on that debate?
Well, first of all, I do believe in reducing taxes to small businesses and to the middle class first, and then if we have money left over, we can help other people at the higher end. But 95% of all independent entrepreneurs in this country make less in their business than $250,000. So many of them, even though they do file on their own, will not see an increase. Now, it is true that those 5 or 6% at the top pay a lot in taxes.
And 50% of the pass-through income is with that top 3%.
The top 3%, but still the numbers are so overwhelming, with about 95% of those small business owners making less than $250,000. So it's a little disingenuous to say that, you know, this will affect them, because 95% won't be affected. But let's work on it and see. I'd like to reduce more regulations for small business. I'd like to get their taxes fair, because they're the ones producing jobs for this country, and I think that's what the president believes and wants to support this bill, and why it was so important.
Do you see this getting done before the midterm elections, or in a lame duck? Is there a compromise?
I think it's going to get done in the next few days, and it should, because it should have gotten done, Peter, actually a year ago. We've worked, really, there are Republican provisions of this bill, Democratic provisions. There was some stalling on the Republican side in the Senate. I was very sorry to see it, but you know, we're over that. We need to get this money out the door to these small businesses, and we should have done it a year ago, but I'm glad we got it, finally broke that filibuster and got it done. And I want to thank George Voinovich for getting it done.
The tax cuts.
Oh, the tax
extending the Bush tax cuts. Will that be done before the midterms?
I'm not sure it'll be done before the elections, but there'll be some action on tax cuts. extending permanent research and development tax credit. I think, and many people know, that that is a very significant signal to small businesses. I hope that we can get some middle-class tax cuts extended, and we'll see. The time is running very short.
My colleague Shil Kassouni in New York has a question for you, Senator.
Senator, last time you and I spoke, it was about offshore drilling in the Gulf and the moratorium. Yesterday, the administration released a report, Senator, that said that no jobs have been lost in the Gulf because of this moratorium, yet $2 billion in spending is gone from the industry. The industry absolutely disputes this report yesterday from the administration. I want to find out where you stand, Senator.
Well, first of all, I'm opposed to the moratorium and have been since it was laid down, but actually the report said that the jobs lost were significant. They would be 13,000 jobs lost. That's the report. 2,000 rig workers. But what I challenge them on is, number one, there's an effect from the de facto shallow water drilling moratorium, which they didn't take into consideration. And they're really focused on rig workers, and while I'm worried about rig workers, I'm really worried about restaurants and salon owners and grocery stores and tire manufacturers and gas stations, because those businesses are being detrimentally affected. So we are pushing the administration to lift this moratorium. I said it shouldn't have been implemented in the first place. We can do safety. We can step up safety without it. I hope we can get that done.
Senator Landrieu, thank you.
All right, Senator.
Thank you.